In Washington, the atmosphere was charged with expectation as President Donald J. Trump stepped before the cameras to address a topic that has long stirred debate across the United States: the cost of prescription drugs and the reshoring of pharmaceutical production. This was not just another policy update. It was framed as a turning point, one that, in Trump's view, linked trade policy, healthcare affordability, and even electoral stakes. The room was tense yet focused, as both journalists and aides sensed the significance of the announcement. Trump opened by emphasizing the impact of his tariff policies on corporate decision-making. He spoke with characteristic bluntness. "You have to understand," Donald Trump said, Albert's spending $70 billion that he wouldn't be spending because of the tariffs. When he moves here, there are no tariffs. That's the beauty of it. If you move here, there are no tariffs. By Albert, the president referred to Pfizer's CEO, Albert Bourla. The administration has hailed Pfizer's decision to reshore much of its drug production as evidence that the tariff strategy was paying off. Trump contrasted this success with the approach of his predecessor, adding pointedly, "Biden had less than $1 trillion for 4 years. We have over $17 trillion for essentially 8 months. Pretty amazing," Howard, a senior administration official present at the briefing, provided context for the ongoing negotiations under Section 232, the trade measure that has been central to Trump's approach. Howard explained, "While we're negotiating with these companies, we're going to let them play out and finish these negotiations because they are the most important thing to the American people. We are on their side helping them." Trump nodded in agreement, underscoring that these talks had already produced results that, in his view, would resonate far beyond the immediate pharmaceutical sector. He leaned forward and declared, "Drug prices they'll be starting immediately." The comment drew murmurs from the press, as the promise of near-instant price reductions was a bold claim in a market where reforms often take years to materialize. When asked about the potential impact of these reforms on the upcoming midterm elections, Trump was unequivocal. "I think it's going to have a huge impact. I said if we can pull this off before midterms, I've wanted to do it from the beginning. We were doing so well. We had the greatest economy we've ever had. This is a big shock to the system." And he went on to recount how the COVID-19 pandemic had delayed these efforts. What happened is COVID came and we focused on COVID very hard with Albert, with other companies. Regeneron was a great thing. We did a lot of therapeutics that were fantastic. And so we focused on that. Trump described the renewed push to complete the reforms as a personal priority once the pandemic had receded. "We've been working on this for 8 months. This is a very big deal. The world is going to go up a little bit. We're going to come down a lot, but now it's fair. We're going to be paying the same thing." For the president, the drug price issue was not merely a matter of economics, but of fairness and national pride. His assertion that the US would finally be paying prices comparable to those in other advanced economies was presented as both a policy achievement and a corrective to what he called decades of inequity. The conversation soon turned to one of the most emblematic battles over drug costs: the price of insulin. When asked whether he feared Democrats would try to claim credit for the current round of reforms, as they had done with earlier insulin reductions, Trump grew visibly animated. "I really appreciate your question because I did. I cut the price of insulin down to $35, he said firmly. He recalled the struggle to make insulin affordable for ordinary Americans. "It was $200, $300, $500, and you couldn't get it, and I got it down to $35. I said, I hope I win the next election because otherwise whoever wins is going to take credit for it." The former president accused his successor of doing just that. Biden, "When I saw him get up and take credit for the $35 and even less insulin, boy, I tell you, I didn't like it. We are the ones that got insulin down to that number. They had nothing to do with it." Trump went further, alleging that Biden had not even been aware of the measure's origins. They asked Biden about it. He had no idea what the hell they were talking about, and they acted like it was a great feat by him, but it had nothing to do with him. He emphasized the human stakes behind the numbers. Insulin was so expensive, people weren't taking it. I would imagine they couldn't test. The weight of the moment was briefly interrupted by a flash of humor when a staff member sneezed nearby. Trump turned and said with a wry smile, "God bless you, Bobby." "I hope I didn't catch COVID just there," an aide added playfully. "Don't you have Pax? Give me a Pax. Love it immediately." The exchange drew laughter and lightened the mood before the president pivoted back to policy. As the questions shifted toward criticism from political rivals, Trump's demeanor grew more combative. A reporter pointed out that while Nancy Pelosi is ignoring what you're doing for the American people, she's going after your administration for cutting taxpayer-funded health care for illegal aliens. The journalist noted Pelosi's use of coarse language during a recent television appearance, quoting her as having told Republicans to go F themselves. Trump refrained from matching the rhetoric, but used the moment to highlight what he described as misplaced priorities among his opponents. The exchange underscored the political undercurrents of the drug price reforms, with both parties vying to frame the debate to their advantage. For the White House, the announcement was more than just about lower costs for patients. It was presented as a landmark shift in the pharmaceutical supply chain, a step toward reducing reliance on foreign production and ensuring that essential medicines were manufactured on U.S. soil. Howard reiterated the administration's commitment to supporting industry partners through these transitions. "We are standing by helping and working with them," he said, portraying the process as a cooperative effort between government and private enterprise. Trump repeatedly framed the reforms as a long-awaited correction to global disparities in drug pricing. "This is a big shock to the system," he said, insisting that the reforms would prompt other countries to pay more of their fair share while bringing down costs for Americans. Political analysts have noted that Trump's remarks blended policy discussion with campaign-style messaging, an approach that has become a hallmark of his public appearances. By linking the reforms to the midterm elections, he sought to portray his administration as not just reactive, but proactive in addressing everyday economic burdens. The announcement also underscored Trump's reliance on tariffs as a key instrument of economic policy. By leveraging the threat of higher import duties, he claimed to have incentivized pharmaceutical giants to invest billions of dollars in domestic facilities, a move that he argued would not only create jobs but also reduce long-term healthcare costs. Throughout the briefing, Trump's message was clear that his administration had achieved what others had promised for decades but failed to deliver. His insistence on fairness, both in pricing and in recognition for his administration's achievements, resonated as a central theme. Observers have pointed out that while the immediate effects of the reforms remain to be fully measured, the political impact was already evident. By positioning himself as the champion of affordable medicine and the architect of reshoring critical industries, Trump reinforced a narrative of decisive leadership. In the broader context, the press event highlighted the intersection of healthcare policy, trade strategy, and electoral politics in the United States. It served as both an update on a key domestic initiative and a campaign-style reaffirmation of Trump's governing philosophy. As the briefing concluded, Trump's remarks continued to echo the message of economic nationalism that has defined much of his political career. The fusion of tariff-driven trade policy with healthcare reform offered a glimpse into how his administration viewed the interconnected challenges of global competition and domestic affordability. The event in Washington underscored not only the ongoing debate over drug pricing, but also the broader contest of ideas over how to balance national interests, public health, and political rivalry in a deeply divided political landscape.